Calling all brokers. How would you like a step-by-step guide to writing your broker operations manual? I know you want that.
Stay tuned because we have that for you today on the Wandering But Not Lost podcast.
And now your host, Jen O'Brien and Matt Emerson. Well, welcome everyone to the WBNL Wandering But Not Lost podcast, where we align, connect, and prosper. This is episode 375. You can find all those show notes over at WBNLpodcast.com. Now, Jen O'Brien, we did our little call there to the brokers, and we know they want that because every time we talk to a broker, they talk about how they want that or how they've always wanted to get around to building that. So we know this is something that everybody needs. And you know what? Here's another thing. If you have one, you might want to get this we'll talk about what we're going to give you. But you're going to probably want to do that just to make sure that yours is complete.
Exactly. And it's just, we're talking about this today because we've just had over the years and most recently as well, we've had calls from brokers, and sometimes it's brokers that are smaller, maybe just getting started or been in business for a little while and realizing they really don't have all of this. And we're going to talk about why you need it, right, and what we've decided to do to help everybody with it. Because we find that many brokers, not all brokers, because some brokers are out there and they're in a brand or whatever, and maybe there already is a written guidelines of how you run the brokerage. So what this is really for is those of you that have got a smaller brokerage, never really had an operations manual. And we're talking about the internal operations manual, right, the one that you use, you don't give to the agents. That's the agent policy and procedures manual. More on that. And we'll do a podcast on that because we're going to bundle those two together as something that we're going to have as an offering in the near future. But we're going to talk today, if you're a broker, we're talking to you mid-size, new, smaller independent brokers that need this. Doesn't matter what size your brokerage is. And by the way, if you're a team leader listening, stay tuned because I think you'll get a lot of this out as well. And we will be modifying what we're doing here for the Brokerage Operations Manual into the highly requested real estate team manual. Okay. Yep. Where you could take it and truly turn it into your own, because everybody has different things that they do, but we think we've developed a way that we can help people with this, especially with the help of AI, as you know, right? Yep. So either you're just doing it in your head, like a lot of great team leaders and do a broker, you just know what you're supposed to do, and then you hire somebody and you train them up. Maybe you started a Google Doc and nobody's ever updated it, but today we want to change that because if you really want to run a business that's to scale, that allows you the opportunity to grow and be able to easily onboard people and so forth, you've got to have a brokerage operations manual. You just really do. We did it when we started our company, and we're building off of that as the guide. So in this episode, we're going to show you exactly what we think needs to go in. It may or may not apply to you, but it's a pretty comprehensive list. Yep. And that's going to get you started. And then if you collaborate with AI, which is what we're going to show you today, and we have some cool prompts and that we think will help you do this. And of course, we put it all into a download. And there's a download, Matt. And can you tell them a little bit about that? We're calling it the Brokerage Operations Manual Outline. Yep, that's right. You can find it with all the other goodies over at WBNLcoaching.com. You go to our downloads button in the main menu, and it'll be the first download there that you can click on. And it's a great outline. And like I said, we're going to go through that outline today, a lot of it, and discuss some of the importance of why we created the things that are in there, and what you're going to be needing to do kind of outside of that outline too. But anyway, that's all going to be there, easy download for you to do. We also have an interest list over on our broker page. So head on over to our broker page as well, because since we are kind of formulating a new course that will come out later on in the year, and other items that we're going to be giving out to you, if you want to be the first to know and know exactly when we drop any new item that's going to relate to your broker operations or your team operations, sign up on that interest list. You'll be on there, and we'll make sure that you are the first to get the new info that's coming out. That's over to our broker page at WBNLcoaching.com. And as always, if you get on that list early, we always do some special, launch pricing, and you'll get in on that as well. So let's get into it, Matt. Let's talk about why people need a brokerage operation.
Yeah, let's talk about why they're so important, because they really, really, really are. A written manual is not just about compliance or paperwork, although It is, but it's not just about that. You have to think about it really as your playbook. It's your company's guide to know how things are done, and it gets it out of your head. Because if you are the team leader or you're the broker and you have created this the company, you know everything that's going on there. And you might think you maybe have delegated things out and everyone knows what's going on, but I guarantee you there's still some stuff locked up in there. So that's why this thing can be so empowering for you to help grow your business. So here's some of the things that it really does. It ensures a smooth onboarding for agents and staff, which is critical to get them on happy. But onboarding correctly, both your staff and your agents is what really the first step in retaining your staff and your agents. So that's a critically important part of what this document's all about. It also houses your brand standards and the expectations of what your company's all about. It creates consistency across offices or teams, vitally important. It makes your business scalable and saleable. Because if you have plans to open new offices or new market areas in different states or whatever, if you just look about expanding, you can take your design, it's duplicatable and you just plop it in, you have your manual ready to go. So it's super important if you have, growth in that kind of way in mind. It protects you from liability and confusion, obviously, and it gives you freedom. And I think really that more than anything else is a byproduct you don't really think about when you're building this, but it's something that you will feel if you have it built out and you have it built out correctly. Because when you're not the only one who knows how things run in the company, things are going to run a whole lot smoother for you. So if you're planning to grow, step out of production, right? Or eventually exit the business altogether, your operations manual really is the foundation to make that all happen.
It really is. It becomes that hub. And not saying that you need to think about expansion and all that, but if you do have plans of just opening another office across town or another market area, this will be the key to all of that. It's completely what you have to have. So we're going to jump in next to what are the core components of the manual. Remember, if you go to the show notes or go over to WBNL coaching, you'll be able to get this free download, which is literal. I'm not going to cover every detail that's in it right now, but it's very, very detailed and comprehensive. And we really kind of took this outline from what we created when we built our manual. When we started a company, it was pre-COVID, and we had 2 locations. So we had staff, we had agents. We built it to 150 agents. And we are going to tell you some tips here right now. And the very first thing I want to say about, before I get into what should be in it, is why do many brokers not have one? Well, it's the classic overwhelm and time constraints. Like, I'm going to get to it. It's on that list. I'm going to do this. And you just never get around to doing it. And then when you do, you're like, where do I start? Then it gets overwhelming again, and then you go into that loop, right? So therefore, you get paralyzed, and you overanalyze, and you don't do anything, right? Yep. It feels like a lot of extra work, even though there's a part of you going, I really need to do this because it is foundational. So here's the real pro tip. You're probably not running your brokerage completely by yourself, meaning you have someone. Maybe it's an admin, a transaction coordinator, somebody who's helping you. Depends on your size. Like we just mentioned that, it was Matt, our partner, Rich, and me, and we had managers, we had office admins, and we had structure. Now, we did all this building of the operations manual, Matt, myself, but our staff helped us. Yep. And in particular, what I did was just really sort of empower the person in their role to take the time from our manager, who was also doing maybe some compliance and recruiting, to the front desk, who was handling a lot of roles. They wrote out their procedures. We set up a guide. We kind of talked through it. I assisted. Matt helped us with it. And we just went through, and it was like, while you're doing this activity, i.e., bringing in a new hire, I want you to actually write out these steps and go grab screenshots if it requires a screenshot. And I want you to think like you were going to train your replacement. That was always what I did. You're training your replacement. Anybody could pick this document up, and it could literally tell them if it takes more than one step, then it needs to have a checklist of things to do, where to go, and how to do it in simple language. Okay? So it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Now, when you think about it, what I'm about to go over, you're going to be overwhelmed. But here's the deal. You just take an area and you work on it until you get it done. Then you work on the next area. Because once you have the bones of it, the checklist, the steps, you can always change it. Maybe you change out maybe you end up moving from a different back office management system, like you're using, Lone Wolf, and now you're going to go to something else. Okay, the process is going to be the same. The steps of where you log in, those things are going to change. So it's not overwhelming once you just get started. Okay, if you're not going to get it all done in a day, it could take months to get this done.
God, yeah.
I mean, literally, I think it was basically 3 months in, and we finally had it as a working document. Okay, so let's go through these core sections, all right? I think a very good manual starts with, obviously, your vision, mission, core values. We've talked about that in other episodes. Your company structure and the org chart, like who are we? What is it that we do? And what is the makeup of the company? It could even talk about what you see as the future makeup of the company. Maybe right now, you and another person are holding down a lot of these roles, but you can, as the visionary, as the owner, can envision where is this going to go when you hit certain benchmarks of production and revenue and so forth. Maybe you're able to hire the next person, right? Now, with that comes the roles and responsibilities, and that means putting very clearly job descriptions, if you will, that are for each of the key roles, including you, okay? Now, it's going to have things like, how do we run the office? What are operations? What days are we closed? So again, some standardization here. What are the opening and closing procedures? How does a person that's helping you set up the office, from alarm codes to everything that's in the office, interacting with the agents, if you let them use the printer, the copier, the computers, phone systems, going off and on service. All those crazy little administrative things just need to have processes. Like we had a checklist for opening the store, if you will, opening the office, closing the office, right? That's right. So that's just set up. Then you're going to get into your back office systems. Okay, now this is how you're running the brokerage, from what software system you're using, how does everybody get in there and learn it and train on it, everything from how you do commission disbursement and tracking, compliance, which is your record keeping for all your transactions, all your financial reporting, all your HR issues, any other administrative stuff, down to how do you issue 1099s at the end of the year? Do you outsource that? Do you do that in-house? There's more there, but you get the idea. That's all of your back of the house, things that the agents don't see. What the agents see is on the front end, they'll get their check, they'll get their 1099.
Yep.
Things work. They know how to upload their documents into the transaction management system, but somebody has to be reviewing those. So all of that, and that is going to be a huge part of this manual with a lot of detail. I broke it out separate as transaction compliance and procedures, because this is where you really got to get into the details. It's like there's how does your person manage and get in there and check things in a file, but now you got to get into what kind of transactions you do, what are the checklists, what are the required paperwork that you need so that you can tell the agents that, but also you can train people on, when we do a land sale, this is what has to be in the file. When we do a residential new home and so on, you understand what has to happen there. There's things that you have to do that are in compliance with the state, as well as, your brokerage and so on. All right. And then very quickly, just to hit the high level of the other ones, it's everything you do to onboard an agent and staff, and how to de-hire or terminate if somebody's no longer going to stay with you. What's the process to get all the materials back and get them out of your system and do an exit interview and so forth. Then you're going to get into all of your tech stacks, your tools. What is it that you provide for your agents? You have your internal stuff, and just sort of talk about that with the back office. Now you've got they may be integrated, by the way, or related. You may have a system that you use for the back office that then allows you to provide things like a website and a CRM or mobile apps or whatever, all the way down to marketing tools and logos. All those things have to be defined in your operations manual. How do you maintain them? How do you let agents know about them? What any tasks that are related to any of your tools and tech stacks. Then you have your training program. What does that look like? Ding, ding, ding. Reminder, if you don't have a training program, you need to get in touch with us and talk about how you can partner with us to use our real estate sales builder certification program, and have some options that you can use our training for your training and augment it. And we have a lot to help you with that.
We do.
Are you doing mentoring, coaching? What is the process? How do you hire mentors? What are their requirements? All this needs to be in your ops manual. Then you have your recruiting and retention processes. Where do you get your recruits? What are the processes in-house that you're needing to follow? We had so many great things we were doing. We had our sources. We used our CRM to follow up. We had an interview process. We had a way to track and follow up. That's all part of your recruiting, all the way up to the hiring, which then is another section. How you onboard them, right? You've also got your company branding guidelines, which is a whole thing that you're going to ultimately share with the agents, but it needs to be maintained in-house and be everybody's clear about how we do things and how do we do email addresses all the way down to however far you want to manage that. Now, a couple final things, if you have them. Do you do relocation, or do you have a company leads program that's at the company level? Obviously, you need procedures for all of that. Right. And then are you into teams? Does your brokerage allow teams? If you do, we happen to be experts in that area too, but you definitely have to have team policies. We've run into all of that because we have done it ourselves. We've run teams. We did it in our company. It was a company of several teams, one large team and several teams. And we definitely have coached a lot of people across the country on brokers and teams, and we know what you need to have in there. And the last thing here is you do need to include in your operations manual your policy and procedures manual that you're going to give to agents, which is going to have some of the things in here about how you access the office and so forth and work and do compliance and whatever the rules are for the agents.
Right.
That becomes a part of your overall operations piece. But again, just to be clear, your operations manual is for internal use only, you and your staff, and the agent policy and procedures manual is what you want to give the agents and what are the rules and how they work with you. Okay. So all of that is in the handout, the download. The list of details in each of those areas is what you're going to get in that outline to get you thinking and start maybe brainstorming and start working on it. Okay, Matt? I know that was a lot, but that's exactly what this is.
I was just going to say, she said that it was going to be a lot. And now that you heard her say all of that, it is a lot, and it is overwhelming, and it does take time. But you have to just get in the right mind frame about the whole thing. But here's the beauty of something that has been released to the world in the last year, and that's AI. And if you are an AI user, you know exactly what I'm already talking about. It's a time saver. It can really help move you along and help you get unstuck when you're working on building something out from scratch like this. So if you, we use GPT, excuse me.
The tongue twister, really.
Chat. We use chat, and it works out, really well for us. We've trained our chat entities to respond really, really well. But if you're using anything else, they're all about the same type of, thing. And I'm sure if you're someone that is using it, you understand what, the power of what it can be. And what it really, I think more than anything else, it prevents you from having to stare at that blank page, because doing the operations manual is huge. And it really is. And that's like, where do I start and where do I get started? And Jan already really laid out the whole process of how you can get it done and get it done effectively. This can be another step, another helper, if you will, another partner in the process, right? Another collaborator as you're building out your thing. So here is a great prompt that you can use right off the very bat when you're building this out. Hello, whatever you call your chat. Help me create a brokerage operations manual for a team of 50 agents across 2 offices. Ask me questions section by section. So let's just break that down real quickly. And we've broken it down on many other podcasts. So when we talk about AI, but how you actually phrase the prompt is so very important. So this, setup that you're looking for an operations manual. So they'll be able to find many, examples of ops manuals out there. You set kind of the range of how big your organization is, right? So it's going to be it's going to size it correctly for you. And then, this is showing that you have 2 offices here. So you've kind of laid that basic groundwork of what your operation, is the size of it and, what you're doing there. That ask the question section by section is so important, because if you just ask the first part, it's going to give you a ton of information. Right? When you do it like this, you're going to be able to kind of go along. It's going to give you some info. You can analyze that info, kind of say, well, that's kind of it, but can you give me a little bit more? Or maybe you forgot to say something, and as you go along, and it's like you can kind of build as you go, and you're building not building out the whole manual, although you certainly could, but you are, in this step, you're doing it to where you're getting the information in chunks. You are getting the right information that you want in those chunks, and then you're moving on to the next section.
And Matt, if I could just add one power user tip to that, exactly what Matt said, but this is where you can take it to the next level, because your AI is not going to know how you run your company. So what you can do is take our outline. This is my recommendation. You take our outline, you get it in a general, delete the things you don't do and so forth, put a few little things in there, and then upload that to your AI. So you can basically say, look, I've put a draft, in addition to the please help me create this operations manuals, ask me questions sections by section. Let's use this as a guide. Now you've taken our outline, you've kind of put it to the area that you want to cover. And now the chat can say, let's talk about your organization structure, ask you questions one thing at a time. And you're going to then, this is where it's going to be powerful. Otherwise, you're going to sit and have to write it all yourself. So if you do this, this is the collaboration that Matt and I do all the time. And then you can go in and go whatever, or you could draft it up and say, let's clean this up and go back and forth. This is what's going to make it not so hard. And you can do this project ever so often, right?
Absolutely. And the little things that it's going to be able to do for you in this process, Jensen and I've already touched on a lot of these things, right? It's going to go out there and search for industry best practices, right? And pull them in and give you suggestions if you don't already have those in place already. So that's fantastic. The drafting of job descriptions, that is probably the greatest thing just to send on over to have it come back, right? It can build checklist templates. It can prompt you for what's missing in your guide. And as far as categories go, you can brainstorm workflows. It can help write out specific procedures for you. And it can really help with the formatting and consistency of what your guide's all about. There's nothing funnier to us when we talk to brokers. And, not knocking what anyone has ever put together, because it's a lot to put these things together. But you can always tell when someone has gone through and it's like, cut a little here, paste a little there, cut a little here, because there's no consistency to the document. And if someone is reading that and they're really, having to use it all the way through, it starts to feel very disjointed and very like there's really not a plan here. So that consistency piece is actually really, really important in the process, not only in your internal guide, but also in your policies and procedures, where we see that a lot too, where you can just tell like, well, that's from Prudential and that's from Keller Williams.
100% true. There's a lot of the same stuff out there.
Right. It's exactly, because the stuff is kind of the same, but everyone's, phraseology is a little bit different. So anyway.
Well, and there are some standard things that are out there too. Sure. There are some things at NAR and so forth that you can use. But
it is more engaging, especially on the agent side, when you personalize it to the way, to your own voice and all that. But anyway, that's all another thing. But just remember, it's not about letting AI run your business, because that's not what this is all about. And we stress that all the time. We love working with AI, but we also know the boundaries of AI. We know where it can be beneficial and where it cannot be. And that's when you master that part of it, is when you really can use it to its ultimate potential, right? So it's about you staying in control. That's what this is really all about. Why AI can accelerate the creation process, which Lord knows is...
That's the whole thing here.
Yeah, and it really does.
And what better way, if you haven't really gotten into using AI or AI of choice, this is a great project to jump into.
No kidding.
Get your background on what you're doing. And so let me just throw a couple other prompts in there, because I think it becomes a process of, you have to just jump in. It's like working with an assistant, like a human assistant. You don't really know what's going to happen until you start interacting and see what comes out. But what I do know versus a human assistant versus your AI, everything happens quicker, and there's quicker reasoning and quicker feedback. And when you really do the collaboration, then what happens is it's hard for us to give you exactly what to do, because you're going to have an experience of a process. So this is why we have structured it this way. Here's an outline, take the outline, do it the way, get it generally the outline of the things that you do in your company. Now jump in and you can start with that prompt. But here's a couple other things, okay? Act as an experienced real estate operations manager. Help me write the office opening and closing procedures section of my manual. So, you can simply use that basic prompt and insert act as a experienced real estate broker, real estate manager, real estate, branding person, and help me develop my branding guide. Ask me questions one at a time, of what we need to do. ask me 5 questions to help build an onboarding checklist for my manual. And when it comes to that, for example, you need an internal checklist for what your administrative people or you have to do to properly onboard someone, staff or agent. And then you need to give the agent a checklist to empower them on what they need to do. There's things they need to do to interact with you. There's things they need to do to update all types of things like online and their logos and all that good stuff, right? Based on these responsibilities, draft a weekly task schedule for my transaction coordinator. Do you know how many times people who are coaching with me will say, I want to make sure I have a clear list of duties for my person to do. So here's what I need them to do. But now you can dig in deeper based on how you do compliance or you do TC, and now get AI to help you with how do you hold them accountable, right? Create a 1-page checklist for commission check processing. You see how this can really go crazy here.
Sure.
But it cannot read your mind, okay? It doesn't know exactly how you like to do things. I don't think it can read your mind yet. You never know in the future. But the reality is everybody runs their company. There are threads of what you'll notice in these outlines. And I've been in a lot of companies. I've worked with a lot of companies. The way this outline is pretty much how people run their companies, unless they don't do certain things like relocation and teams and whatever. Okay. So, you just got to give it a try. Now, where we're going with this, just try the prompts and have the experience, and you'll start to see what it is. Don't be afraid. So let's jump into where we're going with this, Matt. And we'll just kind of finish up on this because we're going to. Let me start with this, and then you can kind of come back in this section about what's coming next. So this has just been on my mind for a couple of years. I'm telling you, because we sell the team builder program, and then over the years, and with brokers, we've had so many inquiries into, I just need a manual on how to run my team, or I need a manual on how to run my operations so that I can grow. So now with all the things that we've been working on and actually helping some people recently with this again, and rethinking how we did it, and now having a tool and a collaborator like AI, we've decided to jump into this and provide more than just a checklist. So what we're going to start with, and we'll launch in the coming months, and we know we will launch this before the end of the year, is at least an interactive way for you to get a broker operations manual and an agent policy manual guide with some better prompts and maybe even some videos to show you it in action, how you can actually do what we're talking about on this episode. Now, where we see that growing is maybe a full-blown broker course for somebody who's thinking of opening their we've done a series on that before, the pros and cons of opening a brokerage. So we can expand that and talk about everything you need to do if you're thinking of starting a brokerage, or if you want to expand that brokerage. But these two things are a key piece. You'll find that if you go to our YouTube channel. I think we have a playlist for that. Mm-hmm. You'll basically have, one of the things will be you need a broker operations manual and a policy manual. So we're going to start with that first, because we think there's people that want that, and then we'll expand on that and offer it to be a little bit more in the future. So I'm sort of really excited, I am excited. I've already been working with it to come up with a way to do this and have more than a checklist for you, to have a real, something that you could take and maybe have, I don't know, for lack of a better term, generic things that are in, like maybe the thought I'm having, Matt, I'm just kind of spitballing here right now because it's coming out. Maybe it's like a mock company. Okay, it's a mock company's manual, and here's the process of how we went through it. Maybe that's going to be easier for you to take that expanded outline with a manual and now go in and make the changes and work with your AI, and voila. In no time at all, you'll have an operations manual, and we'll do the same thing for an agent policy and procedures manual, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the way to go. Have a real mock company with a real, this is a no kidding. If I was to start a company again, which I'm not, this is what my manual would look like.
there you go. Do as we say, not as we do. Yeah, that's awesome. Now, so that's coming in the future, and that's going to be morphing and changing and getting into, growing into something that's going to be really, really an advantage for your business. But you can download the download we have today. That is the outline of that operations manual. And to get that, go over to WBNLcoaching.com, go to the download button in our main menu, and you can download that. And then don't forget to get all the information about what Jan's talking right now, and to, because we probably will do a lot of it kind of dripping it out over the coming months as the year moves on here. Get on our interest list so we make sure you don't miss one of the drops that happens throughout that. Plus, you'll be on our mailing list there, and we're going to keep you informed of anything new that's going to be dropping. I think as this goes on, and Jan is really excited about it, and she's getting me excited about it too, because I love all this admin.
We like processes.
Because we like processes. Processes are fun, and systems, right? But the whole point is is to get out of that bottleneck that you might be in your business, and really, we feel that the products that we are going to be providing, and actually already have in our team builder program, and a lot of the broker things that we already have up there are really going to be game changers for you.
Yes, indeed. We're super charged about that, and it's going to be there sooner than later. So jump on our mailing list so that you can get it, but start now. You got to start now anyway. Get the outline, start thinking about it. And even if you kind of wait because you're not ready, when we have our product, you'll be ready. And you can also reach out to us if you need some help on just having a consultation, or how do we help you with it. We're here for you. That's what we can do. We offer a free consultation to get you going in the right direction. You can even hire us to help you with working on this if you need it.
That's right. So remember, you can get that download over at WBNLcoaching.com, but all the stuff that we talked about today is going to be located in our show notes over at WBNLpodcast.com. This has been episode 376.
Yes.